Matt Stone had left behind the relentless pulse of Chicago's streets 3 years ago. At 62, the retired detective had settled into a quiet life in Maple Grove, a small town in Tennessee where the days moved as slowly as the river winding through its outskirts. The town was a postcard of Americana, a single main street with a grocery store, a diner that opened at dawn, and neighbors who waved over picket fences. Matt spent his days tending to tomato plants in his backyard, tinkering with an old pickup truck, or sipping coffee at the diner, listening to the hum of local gossip. But 25 years chasing criminals had left him with instincts that never fully quieted, no matter how peaceful life seemed. It started on a Monday morning as Matt sat on his porch with a steaming mug of coffee. Across the street, Clara Hensley's house was unusually still. Clara, a widowed woman in her 70s, was a fixture in Maple Grove, volunteering at the library, baking cookies for neighbors every Saturday. Her red bicycle, always parked by the front door, was missing. Her mailbox overflowed with 3 days' worth of newspapers. Matt frowned. Clara was a creature of habit. This wasn't right. He crossed the street and knocked on her door. No answer. The windows were shut, curtains drawn. Matt circled to the back, where the door was slightly ajar. "Clara? You in there?" he called. Silence. Stepping inside, he found a cold cup of coffee on the kitchen counter. On the fridge, a note in Clara's neat handwriting read, "Tuesday, 7 p.m., Old Mill." It was Monday afternoon, well past the time on the note.
Matt considered calling the sheriff, but Maple Grove's sheriff, Tommy Larson, was a young man more accustomed to writing speeding tickets than solving mysteries. Matt trusted his own instincts instead. He searched Clara's house. Nothing seemed stolen, but in her bedroom, a drawer was slightly open. Inside was an old photo album. One picture showed Clara in her 30s, standing beside a man Matt vaguely recognized. The back read, 1985, Nashville. The man's face nagged at him, but he couldn't place it. The old mill was on the edge of town, a crumbling relic where kids spun ghost stories and teenagers snuck beers. Why would Clara go there? That evening, Matt drove his pickup to the mill. The abandoned structure loomed, its rusted machinery and broken windows casting eerie shadows. Inside, he found fresh footprints, small ones, like Clara's, and larger ones from muddy boots. His pulse quickened. A cigarette but lay in the corner. Clara didn't smoke. Nearby, a crumpled note read, "Friday, 5,000, cash." Was this Clara's, or someone else's? Matt's old detective senses screamed trouble. Clara hadn't just wandered off, someone had taken her. But why? He needed more answers, and Maple Grove's tight-knit community was the place to start. At the diner, Matt questioned a few regulars. Helen Carter, who ran the grocery store and was Clara's closest friend, looked worried. "Clara's been off lately," she said, stirring her coffee. "I heard her arguing on the phone a week ago, but she wouldn't say who with." Matt pressed Sheriff Tommy to check Clara's phone records. Reluctantly, Tommy found that her recent calls went to a Nashville number tied to Bright Future Properties, a real estate company. Matt's mind flashed to the photo. Nashville, 1985. There was a connection. Back at Clara's house, Matt dug deeper into the album. The man in the photo resembled a younger Frank Dalton, Maple Grove's wealthiest resident and a real estate mogul who'd been buying up local land for luxury homes. Matt visited Frank's office, a sleek building on Main Street. Frank, in his 60s, polished and confident, greeted him coolly. "Clara?" "Sure. I know her from the library," he said, but his eyes flickered with unease. Matt's gut told him Frank was lying. That night, a pickup truck slowed in front of Matt's house, its headlights dimming before it sped off. Under his door, Matt found a typed note. "Drop it, Stone. Don't dig deeper." The threat only fueled him. Clara's disappearance wasn't random. It was tied to something bigger, something Maple Grove's sleepy facade was hiding. Matt drove to Nashville the next day. Bright Future Properties' office was all glass and chrome, a world away from Maple Grove's dusty charm. The receptionist confirmed Clara had met with Frank 2 weeks earlier. Matt cornered Frank's assistant, Lisa Brooks, who fidgeted as she spoke. Clara was asking about an old land deal, Lisa admitted. She left upset, but I don't know why. Her nervous glance told Matt she knew more than she was letting on. Back in Maple Grove, Matt found another clue in Clara's house, a bank statement. Over the past month, Clara had withdrawn $5,000 in small increments, the exact amount on the note from the mill. Matt returned to the mill, searching more thoroughly. Behind a loose board, he found a metal box containing a faded land deed. It showed Clara's family once owned a plot now registered to Frank's company. Scrawled on the edge, in Clara's handwriting, was a single word: thief. The pieces clicked. Clara's family land, now valuable, had been swindled by Frank years ago. She'd uncovered the truth and confronted him, putting herself in danger. Matt shared his findings with Tommy, who hesitated. Frank Dalton's practically the mayor, Matt. You sure about this? But Matt sensed Tommy's loyalty to Frank was shaky. The sheriff was young, but not corrupt. Matt made a final move, heading to Frank's new construction site in the woods outside town. Under cover of night, he crept toward the glow of a bulldozer's lights. In a small shed, he found Clara, hands tied, mouth taped, but alive. Guarding her was Eddie Vance, Frank's enforcer, holding a pistol. Matt, using skills honed over decades, disarmed Eddie in a swift tackle. Before he could free Clara, Frank appeared, his calm demeanor masking a threat. Clara dug too deep, stone. So have you. Frank confessed. Clara's land sat on a valuable mineral deposit. He'd forged documents in the 80s to steal it, and when Clara started asking questions, he'd had her kidnapped to keep her quiet. Matt kept Frank talking, buying time. Clara's muffled cry alerted a nearby worker who'd called Tommy. Sirens pierced the night as the sheriff's deputies arrived. Tommy, shaken but resolute, arrested Frank and Eddie. Clara was freed, her eyes filled with relief. Clara recovered in the hospital, thanking Matt with a trembling voice. You saved me, Matt. No one else noticed I was gone. Back on his porch, coffee in hand, Matt watched Maple Grove settle into its routine. The town's quiet charm hid secrets, just like any city he'd patrolled. He was retired, but the detective in him was alive and well. For now, Maple Grove was at peace, until the next secret surfaced.